If you want to talk about a separate issue, there will be a time and a place for that, but you are out of order, sir.
Yes, sir. You are, Ben. You are out of order, sir.
There's a time and a place for everything, okay? A city council hearing is not a time or place to discuss police brutality. Get that straight. Or I'm going to take your car, Dennis.
I don't have a car, so...
I'm going to take your bicycle.
Damn it.
I'm going to lock it up. I'm going to shave your beard. You hippie.
How's it going, everybody? We are live. You're the hippie. No, I'm not the hippie.
Oh, yeah.
You're the hippie in this duo
right.
here, all right?
My bad. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I'm the worst millennial on the planet. You're the hippie. That's how this works, okay?
I got it. Chuck, can we redo that? Hey, listen, you worst millennial on the planet.
Hey, do you know the Hanukkah song, by the way?
Adam Sandler's?
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a no.
Yeah, and I mean, I could, attempt it.
All right, well, that's not your... You do have another song of the day option, so don't worry. But first...
I do love that Hanukkah song. I love,
oh, yeah, big fan. Big fan you are.
I do love Sandler. I'm a little embarrassed to admit that, but yeah, I'm a fan. You like the Sandman?
I like the early Sandman. I think Happy Gilmore is one of the funniest movies ever made.
Well, Uncut Gems is one of the great movies of the last 10 years. So, anyway.
Your Ben Joravsky show is brought to you by the Chicago Reader, hosted by the Chicago Reader. We're on the Chicago Reader YouTube. Go check out the Chicago Reader. I'm saying Chicago Reader a lot here. ChicagoReader.com to find out what's going on in the city of Chicago and subscribe. That's a great way to show your support for the Ben Joravsky Show. Subscribe to the Chicago Reader. And today's Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. Okay, your song of the day, I've never heard of it, comes from Frank. To Sir with Love by Lulu.
Lulu. Come on,
Lulu?
D. It's one of your favorite movies from 1967, Sidney Poitier and Lulu. It was a movie coming out of England where Sidney Poitier, as Dennis knows, portrayed a school teacher with who had to get a bunch of ruffians to care about academics. And he did. And at the end, Lulu sang, "To Sir with Love." I like that song. I just can't. I can't think of any of the lyrics. But at the end, it goes, "To Sir with Love," and then there's a little guitar.
I've heard worse. The Ben Joravsky Show starts now. It is Friday, December 18th, and live from my apartment in his attic, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, in these times writer, Miles Kampf Lassin. And now your host, Chicago Reader columnist, Ben Joravsky.
Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this No Love for Lefties Friday. And here's why. Breaking news out of Washington. Actually, it's an old story, but I just love doing that breaking news sound so much. It's like part of my conversation with my wife. How was your day? When she comes home, how was your day, honey? Oh, breaking news. Dennis has a beard.
I've always had a beard.
I know. I just noticed it for some reason. Anyway, there we go. This is actually an old story. I just discovered it. So a little embarrassed here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm supposed to be on top of the news. It's from yesterday, so that's not really that old, right, D? It's not that bad. Anyway, AOC got the shaft. Repeat, AOC got the shaft. All right, it's more complicated than that. But my beloved Democrats were selecting who would get the coveted seat on the all-important House Energy and Commerce Committee. Came down to a behind-the-scenes showdown between one of two candidates, a moderate named Kathleen Rice of New York, or AOC, also of New York. AOC, of course, being Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, every lefty's favorite congresswoman. So your choice, Dems, is between a media superstar who understands Twitter and has the unwavering loyalty of thousands of door-knocking activists because she's not afraid to take stands for things that Democrats are supposed to believe in, or a former prosecutor who's so much of a centrist that she actually rallied against Nancy Pelosi as Speaker back in 2017 because she thought, get this, Nancy Pelosi was too far to the left. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, she thought Nancy Pelosi was too much of a lefty. This goes back to that bizarre moment in political history where Republicans had so successfully moved the country to the right that people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were viewed as the second comings of Saul Alinsky. In fact, more ancient history, the Republicans defeated John Ossoff in a special congressional election in Georgia in 2017 by putting Nancy's radical head on Ossoff's centrist neck. That's so weird to think of. Steve, that's when I was just getting started in the radio business.
Ooh,
remember?
Yeah.
It was like early days. The WCPT, Chicago's progressive radio station. Unless you really are a progressive, then get out of here. But I remember talking about it. Like, are you kidding me? Nancy Pelosi's a lefty? That's what they were doing. The leftist agenda of Nancy Pelosi. It worked. Man, things have changed in 2017. Anyway, back to yesterday's breaking news. According to Politico, and I am quoting, tensions spilled into the open Thursday in a private meeting of the Steering and Policy Committee, where Democrats were forced to choose between the two members in a tense and awkward secret ballot vote. End of quote. The exchange went a little like this. Rice, I want an answer. AOC, you're 100% full of shit. Oh, wait, that's Chicago. Those Chicago Democrats fighting. Sorry about that. In Washington, the Dems chose Rice largely because AOC had campaigned against some Democratic incumbents on behalf of lefty challengers. So let me get this straight. It's okay for Kathleen Rice to revolt against Nancy Pelosi on the largely fictitious grounds that somehow or other Nancy Pelosi is too much of a leftist, but it is wrong, I tell you, for AOC to campaign for someone like, I don't know, Marie Newman against Danny Lipinski, because you got to be loyal to Team Blue all the times? Seems like a double standard. And this brings me to one of my favorite topics, no love for lefties. It's one I know very well, having been a lefty in centrist Chicago all my life. And, this goes back to conversations I had with my dear friend Mick Dumke for many, many years. I go, Mick, we live in the most democratic city in the country. 80% every election, 80 to 85% of the people in Chicago vote for the Democrat. And then Mick always says, yes, Ben, but that doesn't mean they're for lefties like you. And it's true. It's true. They love centrists in Chicago. It took me 40 years to learn that. Now, it's funny. You'd think that lefties would have more love from the Democratic Party because we're the ones generally articulating the lefty values that the Democrats love to act as though they embrace. For instance, at a Democratic convention, they championed FDR and the New Deal. They championed Eleanor Roosevelt and her compassion for people who were mistreated. They championed Martin Luther King and his marches for civil rights and how he put his life on the line. They championed John Lewis, who got battered at the Edmund Pettus Bridge for standing up for the rights of black people to vote. They don't say things like, well, we're now going to pay homage to that congressman from New York who betrayed the unions by diluting their trade policy bill just to get enough votes to pass it. Or when they championed Barack Obama, there's no footage of him saying caving into the insurance industry to make sure that he has just enough votes to get Obamacare passed, and he still can't get any Republicans to vote for it, by the way. No, it's the great lefty principles that get championed. It's the unwavering dedication to causes greater than your own reelection that they proclaim an allegiance to. And yet, when it comes to lefties, no love for lefties. Happens here in Chicago all the time. Carlos Ramirez Rosa, alderman of the 35th Ward. About as far left as you can get. Votes against the budget. And what do they say? Oh, Carlos, you can't work with him. Nobody likes him. He's a lefty ideologue. He's a commie. Mayor Lori Lightfoot set up a website to blast him and all the other lefties who voted against the budget last year. But Alderman Tom Tunney votes against the budget. Oh, well. He's a pragmatic. He's standing up for his anti-tax constituents. Let's keep him chairman of the zoning committee. Then it comes out, I just have to say this, that Alderman Tom Tunney, a centrist, is running an illegal cinnamon roll speakeasy. And it's like, oh, come on, Ben, he's a good guy. Leave him alone. By the way, I got a very funny text this morning from Jim Coogan, Ace Attorney Jim Coogan, good friend of the show. Will be on in a week or so to talk about Bill Barr. He says he wants to use a cinnamon roll speakeasy as a title of a short story he writes, but he doesn't want me to sue him, which is funny. He's the lawyer. I'm just the podcast host. I can't sue you, Jim, but I won't sue you. You can use it.
As long as you're a good neighbor.
You have to be a good neighbor. You have to be a good neighbor. Otherwise, I'm going to be up your butt every day.
Heck of a job, 44th Ward residents. Anyway, that's your alderman. I realize that the Dems of the world hate lefties because lefties advocate the principles that they, the Dems of the world, largely abandon anytime things get a little tough. So lefties make them look bad. But they sure love our votes. And they sure love our door knocking come election time. We got a great show today, everybody. Miles Kampf, Lassin. He's not ashamed to say he's a lefty. Pride and joy of In These Times. The pride and joy of Jacobin Magazine. And of course, as Dennis will tell you, proud graduate of Whitney Young High School. He'll be here. We're talking a little AOC, Lori Lightfoot, Rahm Emanuel, Joe Biden, and all the great issues of the day. But before we do that, the young man from Alton, who's not ashamed to say that he's a lefty, and back home in Alton, they call him Dr. Lefty, with the news.
They don't.
With the news.
They do not call me that. Hey, go Dolphins.
Dr. Lefty. How come I haven't thought of that before? That's pretty good.
I don't know.
Dr.
Hoping
Lefty.
you forget all about it come Tuesday. How's it going, everybody? Before we find out what's happening in Chicago and or Illinois this afternoon, we need to remind every one of you listening right now to download this weekend's Benny J bonus interviews. Here's this weekend's lineup. Saturday, well, we interviewed a bulldog. It's our dear friend, investigative reporter Dan Mialopoulos of WBEZ, and he talked about his latest work and all things Madigan Gate, the time utility bigwigs ComEd admitted to arranging jobs, contracts, and payoffs to the associates of Democratic Illinois House Speaker, one Michael Joseph Madigan.
That's correct.
Ben, what'd you think of that interview with that Dan?
Oh, come on, man. This is for political junkies only. This is the real deal. Now, all you guys who are like not really political junkies, I don't know. You don't want to do. We're taking a deep dive. The whole history of Madigan Gate, and then the impact it's having on the Democrats today, and it is having an impact. So it is a blast. And young Daniel, he knows everything about this stuff. A couple times he was all. I'm not going to do my Dan Mialopoulos. Ben. Well, actually. A couple times he had to correct me when I got a few things wrong. Can you believe that, huh? The nerve of that guy, huh? It's a great interview, if I must say so myself. And somehow or other, we managed to avoid any references. Oh, no, we had one or two to the Greek Freak. Dan Mialopoulos loves Giannis. And I want him to be on the Bulls. But whatever, we stay away from basketball. Take that deep dive. Fascinating stuff. The whole story of Madigan Gate, what Madigan did, what he is alleged to have done, what we know he did, whether it's hypocritical of Republicans to call him account for that. And Danny takes, I mean, then we explore my suggestion, which Dan dismisses. It's really, I mean, he's right. You know, that I would say, change your ways, Michael Madigan, and be more forceful. And Dan was like, are you kidding? This guy's never done any of that. He's always operated from the back rooms. I don't know. My beloved Democratic Party, it's like, they want to lose. You know what I'm saying? It's like they want to lose. So the deep dive on Michael Madigan with Dan Mihalopoulos, knows his stuff inside and out. WBEZ reporter. And before that, he worked for my beloved Bright One, the Chicago Sun-Times. Good stuff, Danny. We don't have him on the show enough. We made up when it was all over. I said, young Daniel, you'll be back. Got to get you on every 6 weeks or so.
Agreed. Absolutely. It's available tomorrow morning by 5 a.m. Dan Mihalopoulos of WBEZ. On to Sunday. Well, on Sunday, we're going to be reposting a Ben Joravsky show, oldie but goodie. No brand new interview, but we suggest you thumb through our catalog. Why did that sound dirty? Over 800 episodes. Check out a show you maybe missed if you're really hankering for some Benny J. And why did that also sound dirty?
I don't know. I don't know where your head is these days.
Oh, my. Go check out our catalog.
That sounds dirty, too, by the way.
And finally, on Monday, we're getting a downstate perspective with Indivisible Illinois' Sarah Bingaman. Ben, tell them about this interview.
Well, it's more upstate than downstate, but
well, you know.
Yeah, I know, upstate.
Out of the city.
Yeah, out of thank you, very good. But Sarah Bingaman is an indivisible activist in Trump country, and she tells it like it is, folks. That's one of my favorite themes that I've been pounding away. Illinois could go red, and it could go red for three reasons, and Sarah breaks them down. Well, one, the love for Trump among MAGA is very, I mean, it is deep and abiding. I make fun of it all the time. You know, I just saw this story just broke deep right before we came on the air. It'll be no surprise to people who listen to my show because I talk about it all the time. Trump's raised tens of millions of dollars since he lost the election. And I make fun of it because I got all these solicitations. Like, I just got another, by the way, yesterday, remember I got the one from baby Donnie? Hey, if you sign up right now.
Hey, man, you should really sign up for this right now.
Is that a Donnie Jr. imitation?
He's like very like country. Like he's the one country guy out of all of the Trump kids.
And he's nowhere near a country.
I know. He's like wearing camo. Looks like he's got dip in his mouth. That's why I was saying yesterday, he's not a Cubs fan. He's a Cardinals fan. He's looking like a damn dirty downstater.
So not a Cardinal fan. Anyway, so he's a Yankee fan. Jim Coogan pointed that out. He's a Yankee. Oh, that's right. Jim Coogan pointed that out. He wanted you to know he's a Yankee fan. He's not a Cardinal fan. Thank you, Jim Coogan, for pointing that out. But yeah, so baby Donnie sent me this solicitation saying if I give money now, they'll send me a hat that's signed by his daddy. But you have to do it fast because hats are limited, and this is the last time they're offering. And guess what, D? I wake up today, I got 3 offers from Donald Trump, Daddy Trump himself, saying, hey, give money, I'll send you one a hat. I go, wait a minute, I thought it was a limited offer from yesterday. Point is, he's raising a lot of money. His loyalty among MAGA is as intense as it ever was. And Sarah Bingaman discovered that when she went out to campaign on behalf of some good Democratic candidates. It's ferocious, it's fierce, and it's there. And if Democrats ignore it, if they don't try to win over some Trump voters, they're going to pay the price every time. And she thinks she can win over some Trump voters, by the way. And then the other issue that she raises, and Dennis talks about this all the time, and this is true, the opposition to J.B. Pritzker and his stay-at-home orders and his orders that were intended to protect the state aren't viewed that way in all ports, to put it mildly. I always tell Chicagoans this. You guys live in your little bubble. You don't realize what it's like outside of the city. And the only reason I really know is because Dennis ventures out and tells me, Ben, you go downstate, there's Pritzker sucks signs everywhere. Well, Sarah talks about that as well, and the opposition to Pritzker. And he's going to be up against a lot, D, in 2022 when he runs again. That Pritzker sucks fervor is pretty strong. And finally, of course, the one we talk about all the time, Madigan. Exceedingly unpopular outside the city of Chicago. Why the Democratic legislators are so determined to stick with him? I know why. They're afraid of the consequences. They're afraid what'll happen if they vote against him and they don't have enough votes to defeat him. And but they're paying a price for it. And so those three factors right there: loyalty to Trump, opposition to J.B. Pritzker and his stay-at-home orders, and Michael Joseph Madigan's presence really hurting Democrats. And we take the deep dive with Sarah on that.
Yes, Claire on the live stream chat. I am the downstate whisperer. I want to tell you something. Mountain Dew. Alice in Chains. All right.
Yeah, he brings me down to earth, ladies and gentlemen. I'm like lived the last, how many years, D? 80 since 1981?
80 years. You've been 80 years.
80
yes.
years, yeah. 80 years I've been living in the city of Chicago.
Dennis.
But you know what? I got to give myself credit. I've learned over 80 years the difference between upstate and downstate. Most Chicagoans just go downstate, even if they're talking about Rockford. No, that's upstate. No. Anyway.
It's this weekend's Benny J bonus interviews, available at the Chicago Reader website and wherever else you download your favorite podcast. Go check them out this weekend. Subscribe. Tell your friends. It'll be a good time. Okay, local news. Let's do it. Oh my, quick. Someone get Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot some water. Her pants are on fire.
This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine.
Okay, yeah. What a mayor.
All right, here we go. It's been the question of the week. Did Mayor Lightfoot know about the police body cam video of Miss Anjanette Young being handcuffed naked by police at her home for no reason at all when it came out in February 2019? Of course she did. But Lightfoot, whose job title before becoming mayor was president of the Chicago Police Board, said on Tuesday she hadn't seen or heard of this Miss Anjanette Young, for that matter, until 2 days ago when the video was released by CBS 2. Whatever you say, Mayor. But, okay.
Well, that's her story, and she's sticking to it.
But last night, the mayor finally fessed up, admitting that she is, in fact, aware of the video. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times, Sam Charles, and Fran the Woman Spielman. A contrite Mayor Lori Lightfoot acknowledged Thursday she was made aware more than a year ago of the botched raid on Anjanette Young's home. Lightfoot said she had, quote, come to learn that in November 2019. The case was lifted up to me as another example of bad searches by CPD officers, but she doesn't have any recollection of it. And the first time she saw the video was Tuesday morning. Lightfoot said, quote, we will do better, and we will win back the trust that we have lost this week. The mayor said Thursday that her office has reached out to Young's attorney in hope that the two could speak in person.
Wow. Well, there's a lot to dig in there. And, D, this little piece of paper that I have in my hand is a printout of the statement that Lori Lightfoot's press office issued Tuesday night at 8:30. And then you're going to go, Ben, you've read that before. Yeah, I'm going to read it again. Okay? Because Chicagoans, I think you should have an idea of when you are being fed, I don't want to swear, manure. Open up wide, swallow. Here was the press release issued Tuesday night at 8:30. Mayor Lightfoot's statement on CPD body-worn camera footage from 2019 incident. That is the headline. Then it says, quote, as in these words are coming right out of the mouth of Lori Lightfoot. Quote, today I became aware of an incident involving Ms. Anjanette Young from February 2019 before I became mayor. And I saw a video today for the first time. I had no knowledge of either until today. I had a very emotional reaction to what was depicted on the video, as I imagine that many people did. And then it goes on to say the other things, and it closes. Since this matter is the subject of litigation and an open COPA investigation, I will have no further comment. Okay? That was Tuesday night at 8:30. What happened subsequently is that Chicagoans, it took a while, by the way, D, it took a while for people to, become aware of the video. The story broke Monday night on Channel 2. It was a scoop. Dave Savini, hats off to Dave Savini. I didn't see it or know about it because I don't watch news. But Maya Dukmasova told me about it. We were going to do the show on Tuesday. She goes, Ben, have you seen this? She sent it to me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe just how horrible, horrendous this video was. It was really hard to watch without getting angry, without almost crying for Anjanette Young. Lori Lightfoot immediately went on the defensive. And it was very clear that her position was that her administration had done nothing wrong, and that's what she was going to stick with. And then she issued that statement on Tuesday night, divorcing herself from having any kind of role in the raid itself, which of course is a legitimate comment to make since the raid took place before she was mayor. But the lawsuit that followed was all under Lori Lightfoot's watch. And by fighting that lawsuit so vigorously and so passionately, what Lori Lightfoot's administration was doing was telling Anjanette Young and anybody else who had been subjected to such treatment by the police, you're not going to win on my watch. What is more important to my administration is protecting the payout that we have to give to defendants than protecting the rights of citizens from such treatment. And that was the policy that the law department was following for the last, 2 years? And that was the policy that Lori Lightfoot was upholding on Tuesday when she released this statement where she said, since this matter is the subject of litigation and an open COPA investigation, I'll have no further comment. She had seen the video by then, but she wasn't going to have any comment about it. She wasn't going to come to rush to Anjanette Young's aid. She wasn't going to say she felt sorry for Anjanette Young. She wasn't going to say we've got to protect people from this kind of treatment. No. The matter is a lawsuit. I can't talk about it. I won't talk about it. No sympathy for Anjanette Young. Meanwhile, her team of lawyers was in court asking a judge to sanction Anjanette Young for her role in the releasing of that videotape. Then, of course, the shit hits the proverbial fan. Everybody's up in arms, and the flip-flop. That's what we saw yesterday. She's contrite. Well, we all know that Lori Lightfoot is not above great acting. We have fun with it all the time, D. With that, what is her Thanksgiving message that she did? Remember that one?
How can
the
we
frozen
forget?
cake?
How can we forget?
So, I mean, I don't know what she feels in her heart. All I know is her first response to seeing the video was this press release, which is pretty cold-hearted. Doesn't show any empathy whatsoever for Anjanette Young. And she claims it's the first time she heard about it. Now she's saying, oh yeah, somebody told me about it. But, you know, it slipped my mind. And I didn't even know my law department was conducting itself the way they were. So I really don't know what to believe at this stage. Her press conference yesterday completely contradicts the press statement she made the day before, which is pretty fast for Chicago mayors, you know? And I mean, it was a great public relations event. You know, Byron Sixer Lopez was on the show. He came on yesterday. I missed the press conference, and he was the one who told us a little bit about it in yesterday's interview. And, they brought out the police chief, David Brown, and he talked about how upset he was by what he saw in the video. I'm like, are you telling me that none of you knew about this video at all? Saw the video before? This is the first time you saw it?
Well, it's kind of like a Tom Tunney thing, right? Like, oh, yeah, you got caught. That's what it is.
That is what it is. They're not upset about what happened to Anjanette Young. They're upset that they have to pay a political price for it. I mean, what happened to her was horrendous. You telling me that no step down the line did anybody come to the mayor and say, this is pretty bad video? Well, if that's the case, then there's some pretty cold-hearted people running City Hall. Well, that's Chicago, man. We're tough. So the 12 cops break into this woman's house while she's naked, handcuff her. We're tough. And she sues. Well, we'll fight you in court, and we'll take your car, and we'll make you walk. So I don't know, D. I have found this so upsetting and distressing from the get-go on so many different levels. But just this blatant, inconsistency between what she wrote on Tuesday night, Mayor Lightfoot's statement, and what she said yesterday. And everybody in Chicago is supposed to go, okay, well, makes sense to me. It's our mayor. Huh.
Well, we've all been caught in a lie. I mean,
yeah. There's lies, and then there's lies. By the way, I urge everybody, you got to hear Mace Jackson on this one. He was on the show Wednesday. What did he call her, D? I'm not even going to repeat what he called her. He has his own nickname for Lori Lightfoot. I won't go as far as Mays, but I'm really disappointed with her. I voted for her. Yeah, I know. I voted for her. Dennis loves to make fun of me for that. And a lot of the listeners make fun of me for that. And I did. But this is really upsetting. Just everything about this, the police raid itself is the most upsetting thing. But the way the city, it's like they just are determined never to learn, D. Determined never to learn from the past behavior. So.
All right. Well, at this time, we would like to give our live stream chat listener, one J. Marie, the floor. J. Marie weighed in. It's your time to shine, J. Marie. She says, I just want to say, I told all of you about Lori. I knew this is who she was.
You know, J. Marie, take your victory walk. You did tell me. Oh, my God. J. Marie's been making fun of me for Lori Lightfoot for how long have I had this podcast? Yeah, well. What can I say, J. Marie?
Good times.
Oh, God.
All right, I'm gonna ask you here. Okay, so what's the next step now? Come Tuesday, when we're back on the Ben Joravsky, brand new Ben Joravsky show, are we still talking about this? Obviously, yes. Right? Like,
absolutely.
What's the future of this? Does this start to slowly go away, or no?
No. This, first of all, has become an iconic moment for all the wrong reasons in Chicago. Okay, so the Anjanette Young footage will become part of Chicago lore. So first of all, there's the case is out there. See, the reason why Lori Lightfoot's administration took the hard stance that it took is because they were fighting a lawsuit and they wanted to limit the payout that they gave to Anjanette Young. Whether Lori Lightfoot, the mayor, quarterbacked that decision or whether they were just following the general guidelines that she set where she said something like to the lawyer, I want you to fight every lawsuit that comes down because we don't want people to think they can get away with suing the city of Chicago. I mean, Lori Lightfoot, from the get-go, when it comes to litigation, she showed where she comes from. She's a corporate lawyer. She defends, like her company made lots of money. Her law firm made lots of money defending rich people. And they fight like hell. They'll take you to court. They'll tie you up. They'll take your car. All right? They'll do all kinds of things. They'll make you walk home. And that's how they win. They got the deep pockets to outlast you. We saw that right off the bat with Lincoln Yards, which should have been evidence number one, where Lori Lightfoot looked the other way. This is right before she was sworn in, and she did not fight it. When Rahm got the city council to pass that Lincoln Yards TIF deal, and then Amisha Patel and Grassroots Collaborative filed a lawsuit. And Lori Lightfoot could have looked the other way and let that lawsuit prevail and knock that deal out, but no. She sent her lawyers into court to fight Amisha Patel. And the reason she did that, obviously, is she was not going to allow some ragtag coalition of Ben Joravsky show listening lefties to tell her how to spend city dollars. And she prevailed. Oh, big surprise there. The city of Chicago and one of the biggest developers in Chicago versus lefties in Cook County Court. Man, those judges are like, sorry, lefties. I'm going with the mayor on this one. It was a big surprise. So she won. So she let everybody know she doesn't play. And so now she's throwing her lawyer under the bus. Now she's blaming Flessner, which is hilarious. Mark Flessner is the corporation counsel. He's the guy. We made fun of that. I don't know if you remember that one, D. He's the guy that lives out in, Northbrook? We had field day with that one. Like, what? There's no lawyers in Chicago? This is the only lawyer? Well, he's really good. We got to go to Northbrook.
Oh, yeah. We call him like Flimsy Flesner, I think, right? Yeah, that was it, yeah.
So that's it, So now she's really mad at him. Here's the bright one. I love this in the story. Hold on, let me get to it. Since you asked me, I'll tell you. Hold on, D. Hold on, just bear with me. All right, here we go.
Never asked you, but that's good though. I like this.
This is from the story in the Sun-Times. Earlier this week, Lightfoot said her voice was hoarse from having read the riot act to corporation counsellor Mark Flessner, whose office put Lightfoot in a politically untenable position by seeking to prevent CBS from airing the footage. I'm sorry, man. They are really throwing Flessner under the bus with this one. Flessner's office put Lightfoot in a politically untenable position by seeking to prevent CBS from airing the footage. I'll go back to the press release from Tuesday. Lori Lightfoot on Tuesday knew that her corporation counsel had been fighting to prevent the video from being released. Lori Lightfoot knew on Tuesday what was on the video. And what did she say? Since this matter is the subject of litigation, I will have no further comment. But now it turns out she was yelling at Flessner. She yelled at Flessner so much, her voice got hoarse. Can you imagine her yelling? Here's another question. Do you believe Lori Lightfoot yelled so loud at Flessner that her voice got hoarse? Now we have two questions to ask. Do you believe what she said Tuesday, or do you believe what she said yesterday? So they're throwing Flessner under the bus. It's not going anywhere. They got to deal with the lawsuit now, D. So now they're going to have to figure out a way to take care of the lawsuit. Some kind of adequate amount of money to pay Anjanette Young. So there'll be that. Now there'll be hearings. I'm sure I saw this. I think it's next Tuesday. They're already going to have hearings. City Council Committee, which is controlled by Mayor Lightfoot, will have hearings about police raids. So suddenly they're going to take it seriously. So there'll be those hearings. So that won't be going anywhere. And we'll be hearing about this for a long time. Oh, and then get ready for this, D. There's all the emails regarding the Anjanette Young case. There's emails, but the law department has emails, strategists. Who knows how many emails are out there? Lori Lightfoot has promised that she will release all those emails. Now, before they do an email release, folks, what they do is they do a redaction process. So they take out phone numbers that should not be public. They take out names that they think should not be public. They take out verbiage that they think will violate some confidentiality laws. So there'll be all these redactions. So right now, presumably, they got the same law department that she got hoarse yelling at is now blacking out the portions of the emails that the public can't see. And then they do the great email release. Now, I've already talked to several reporters about this, Steve. When will they drop these emails? What holiday will they ruin for reporters by dropping it on? Will they drop it on Christmas Eve or will they drop it on New Year's Eve? Because they love doing that. Why? A, they hate reporters and they want to really stick it to them. Oh, you want to see these emails? All right. How about ruining your Thanksgiving evening? That's what Ron did. He dumped a whole bunch of LaQuan McDonald email. Hey, McDumpkey, you want to see this stuff so bad? Well, forget having turkey with your family. So yeah, they love doing those Christmas Eve, and so we got to figure right now. Most reporters think it's going to be a New Year's Eve dump. They don't think Lori could get it together for a Christmas Eve dump, but that sounds horrible.
Show's over, guys. Good Lord.
They don't think she can get it together to redact all the stuff. And then, of course, there's the theory that they got to, get rid of a few emails. You know what I'm saying, D? Huh? You know what I mean? Just get rid of them all together. Like the emails that show that Lori really did know what was going on the whole time. Let's get rid of those. All right. Now let's just throw it. They hate reporters, ladies and gentlemen. They hate reporters almost as much as they hate lefties. So you imagine what they think about a lefty reporter. Whoo, boy. Anyway. So yeah, there's going to be the great email drop, and then the papers will fill up with it. Everybody will be writing stories or going through the emails. So yeah, this story will be around for a while, but somehow or other, we're going to watch one of the great, brilliant public relations pirouettes as Lori Lightfoot just so nimbly turns a story when she looked like Scrooge. Since this comment is the subject of litigation, I will have no further comment. And turn it into like what? She's a compassionate, caring lover, believer in protecting people against unwarranted police raids. So yeah, D, this is going nowhere. It'll be around for a while. I would say at least until February.
This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine.
We shall see. By the way, we now have the audio from 25th Ward Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez and Mayor Lightfoot during Wednesday's City Council meeting. So let's play that. Shout out to Pat Whalen for this. He posted this on our Facebook page. You can check it out with the video. Check out the cool background that Sigcho Lopez has on his video. At Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show. CBS dropped the report on Anjanette Young the night before the city council meeting, so Alderman Sigcho Lopez was fired up. He shared his feelings with the mayor. Like to hear it? Here it go.
I got my 5 minutes, Madam Chair. I got 5 minutes. I got 5 minutes. You commented. I also
we have three matters that are up before the council. You have three matters that are up before the council. Those are the three matters that are before the council. If you want to talk about a separate issue, there will be a time and a place for that. But you are out of order, sir. We have
I'm not out of order. I have my. According to rules, I have time to comment, Madam Chair. You have your time to comment. I have my 5 minutes comment, Madam Chair. And as I said, I do think that when you talk about ethics, it is very important that we do indeed talk about ethics. It was unacceptable what we saw in the media last night. I think it's urgent. And I think if there's a time and a place, I do hope and I hold you accountable, Mayor, to have a hearing on the matter on the Public Safety Committee and the Health Committee, because the public deserve an explanation of what happened and why the law department was trying to sue the plaintiff because she was trying to make this public as is her right. So again, Madam Chair, with all due respect, let's talk about ethics. Let's talk about ethics and accountability.
You do not know the facts, but that doesn't let you stop you from making wildly inaccurate comments. We will be addressing this issue in total after the city council meeting, but I would appreciate if you and others who have an interest in this, as everyone should, because the images portrayed on that video were upsetting, no question whatsoever. But what I would ask you is to actually get the facts, sir.
Wow, get the facts, sir. Wildly inaccurate. I don't hear anything that wildly inaccurate. Let's take a poll. Which was more inaccurate? Byron Cicero Lopez saying that the city was trying to prevent that footage from being released, or Mayor Lori Lightfoot on Tuesday saying, quote, I became aware of an incident involving Ms. Anjanette Young from February 2019 for the first time. I had no knowledge of either until today. Which do you think was more inaccurate? Now, this is the other part of the story. Lori Lightfoot and her tendency to lash out at people who disagree with her. And she's done this many times. And she did this with the media. Gregory Pratt. Did we talk about this yet, D? I can't remember. I owe this to the great Pat Whalen. I owe all this stuff to Pat Whalen, our dear friend, actor, and a Twitter follower who sends me tweets from time to time that people are writing because I don't follow Twitter. But yeah, Gregory Pratt, Chicago Tribune reporter, he's done a lot of good stories on this situation since the Channel 2 broke the story. And Lori Lightfoot challenged him, said he was inaccurate, said he didn't have his facts right publicly. She lashed out at him. And here's the difference between the way the way the mayor's office treats a lefty alderman like Byron Cicero Lopez and a mainstream reporter like Gregory Pratt. Reporters throughout Chicago rallied to Gregory's defense, as they should. That's how reporters tend to do it. If one of their own is under attack from a powerful politician, many of them will rally to the defense of that reporter. I think it's an honorable thing to do. I believe in free press and free speech, et cetera, and so forth. They did it with Trump time and time again. When Trump would lash out at some reporter, other reporters would come to his or her defense. So they did it for Gregory Pratt. And Mayor Lightfoot had to back off and apologize to Gregory Pratt yesterday. And he accepted her apology. But there's a difference. It's like the last thing the mayor wanted was to have all the reporters in Chicago upset with her. And so she apologized. I don't know if she's apologized to Byron Cicero Lopez yet, D. And I doubt she will. Because they've come to the conclusion, cares about a bunch of lefties. But they don't need to be at war with all the reporters in the city of Chicago. Yeah, so Byron Cicero Lopez, if anybody's interested, what was that show, D? We dropped that one yesterday, right? God, everything's coming together. That was yesterday's show. So anyway, that's like I said, D, this is not going anywhere.
Yeah, we dropped that last night. Go check it out, chicagoreader.com or wherever else you download your favorite podcasts. And yes, that was a deleted scene from yesterday's episode of A Mayor and Her Alderman.
A mayor and her alderman.
If you want to talk about a separate issue, there will be a time and a place for that. But you are out of order, sir.
You are out of order, sir. But then yesterday she had her press conference. You could have had Byron. You know what I mean? If you really want to heal things, you could have invited Byron to the press conference. Say I was wrong to lash out at you. Well, she's apologizing to Gregory Pratt. Yeah.
All right, more news.
I think you're absolutely correct.
What?
You were absolutely right. In fact, you and my wife, she said the same thing today as she was going. It's like what they're upset about is that they got caught. You know? It's like all of a sudden they realize they made a mistake. And let me get this straight. You didn't realize it was a mistake to have 12 police officers bust down this woman's door and confront her naked and just handcuff her while she's naked? And by the way, adding insult to injury, like midway through the raid, they allow her to put a T-shirt on and then they put her in handcuffs again? You didn't think that was a mistake? Until what? Channel 2 put it on the news. And the word began to spread and people getting upset. Uh-oh, then I realized it was fake. It's sort of like Tom Tony. You didn't realize it was a mistake to run an illegal cinnamon roll speakeasy? Only when they get caught, I'm sorry about that.
Right.
I won't do it again, I swear.
All right, I guess you guys aren't that stupid.
Anyway, what a city we live in, ladies and gentlemen. That's your city, Chicago.
Hey, more
All
news.
I can say, Chicago, you sure are dumb. No, I'm just kidding.
Please keep listening. More news from the city of Chicago. Chicago Fraternal Order of Police President John Catanzara. Step away from the computer. I repeat, step away from the computer. I tell you, this guy's a handful. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times, Sam Charles and Manny Ramos. John Catanzara, the president of the union representing rank-and-file Chicago police officers, could be fired from the Chicago Police Department over posts on social media after a Thursday night ruling from a member of the CPD's oversight body. At Thursday's monthly meeting of the Chicago Police Board, member Andrea Zopp ruled that Catanzara, the outspoken first term of the Fraternal Order of Police, will face a hearing that could determine his future with the department. The hearing will focus on profane posts that Catanzara made on his Facebook account between November 2016 and February 2018. For what it's worth, Catanzara was not FOB president at the time of those posts. I'm sure there's more, but Catanzara was chosen by rank-and-file Chicago police officers in May 2020 to replace Kevin Graham as the president of the FOP. In one post, according to records from the police board, Catanzara wrote, WTF, it's seriously time to kill these MRFers, though it was not clear who Catanzara was referring to. When reached Thursday night, Catanzara said the comment was made in reference to people who have killed police officers. In another post, Catanzara suggested someone perform a sex act on him, and in another, he referred to a superior officer in the CPD as, quote, spineless. And my, how the tables have turned. We have a police officer complaining about fairness. When reached Thursday night, Catanzara, in response, said, quote, there is no level of fairness that would even be attached to any of this.
Yeah, John Catanzara. It gave the Chicago Sun-Times another excuse to do what they love doing more than anything else. Put a picture of Catanzara in the paper. Remember that day they were on that roll for a while? Like you turn the page, hey, there's another picture. Good-looking guy. You got to give him credit. Good-looking guy. Wow. What do I say about this? You know what? Some wise guy said to me, D, I was ranting and raving about Lori Lightfoot, as I've been doing for the last, I don't know, definitely the last week since this very troubling police video was made public. But someone said to me, oh, Ben, okay, Mr. Critical of Lori Lightfoot. So let's say in 2023, the election comes down to Lori Lightfoot versus John Catanzara. Who do you vote for? Oh, Lord. Anyway, it's pretty much a sign of how far removed the Fraternal Order Police has come from Chicago. And Catanzara defeated Kevin Graham, as Dennis said. Kevin Graham was a big supporter of Donald Trump. He put out a picture of himself with Donald Trump at the White House. Catanzara is even more of a supporter than Donald Trump. And this is in a city where 12% of the people voted for Donald Trump. I think that's what he got, maybe 15%. I can't remember. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. The point is, yes, thank you, Donald. Not a lot of people voted for him. I don't think one ward in the city went for Donald Trump. So it's evidence that the rank and file of the Chicago Police Department is far removed from the city that it's policing, at least in political views, and they have a sense of themselves as victims, and they have a sense of themselves as being unfairly treated. I feel these posts are really does he deserve to be fired as a police officer? I gotta really think about this. I have to see the post more in the context of what he was responding to. Do you understand? Generally, I'm a libertarian when it comes to this thing. So Kent Zero, when he posed, I don't know if you remember this one, D, he was the one who posed with the sign. He was in a police officer's uniform, and the sign said, "I support the president." I'm doing this off the top of my head, the Second Amendment. And I didn't think he should be fired for that. I thought he had a First Amendment protected right for that. So I'm sort of leaning in that direction, but I need to see more, more of what he wrote or what the context was. It's just a sign of the political alienation of the Fraternal Order of Police from the rest of the city of Chicago. And it probably works to Lori Lightfoot's benefit, I suppose, politically speaking. She's always going to portray the Chicago Teachers Union as the left and the Fraternal Order of Police as the right. I must be doing something right if they both dislike me so much. So it works to Lori Lightfoot's advantage, but it doesn't, in my humble opinion, work to the advantage of rank and file police officers to have a union that's so alienated from most people in Chicago.
And finally, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker.
The enemy is you.
Well, I've never.
When did he say that?
I don't know. Governor Pritzker. Today, Governor Pritzker delivered his daily COVID-19 press briefing. I'll have updates if I can get them after our interview with Miles Kampf Lassin. But here's a quick update on Thursday's pandemic presser. Although COVID-19 numbers are starting to trend downward, now is not the time to let up on precautions, especially with the holidays around the corner, and especially with that one holiday that may lure more people out of their homes more than any of them, New Year's. And Illinois Department of Health Director Dr. Ezike is looking at you, late millennials and Zoomers.
For nearly 2 months, we have seen that the highest number of cases have been in the age group 20 to 29. And while these younger people are much less likely to suffer severe illness, we still see that those younger individuals can expose our older family, our older friends who could suffer much more severe illness.
But JB, what does the science tell us?
Here's what the science tells us. The greatest risk comes when you have a group of people together in an indoor space that has limited flow of fresh air, and when we're doing things like singing and talking without masks on. The research shows you don't have to be symptomatic to spread this virus to other people who may get much sicker than you might.
Interesting.
Yeah. As I say all along, tough road for him, J.B. Pritzker, to have to traverse. D, I just think America's given up on, with the exception of you and me, it's largely given up with the whole notion of social distancing. They just want it to be over. Can we have it over? I'm sick of this. And millennials are pretty bad, D. I know it's your generation. You're going to feel a little defensive about this, but they are pretty bad about this. The millennials have this attitude that, and not every millennial, okay, all right. A lot of millennials have this attitude. Well, I won't die, so what do I care?
Yeah, but that millennial sounded like Ken Davis.
No, Ken would go. Man, we haven't had Kenny D on in a while. We got to bring him back.
I know. I was just thinking of that today.
It's just young Ken Davis, man. Ken Davis is probably the only person I could find in Chicago who would defend Rahm Emanuel being the transportation secretary. Not that Ken is supportive of Rahm's atrocious handling of the Laquan McDonald video, but he always thought that Rahm did a great job as on public transportation. Remember when he confronted me on that in one interview, D, a long time ago, back in the studio? He goes, I think he's the best mayor the CTA has ever had, something like that. That's because Ken Davis loves the flyover. Oh my God, does he love
He's
it?
our friend. He's not here to defend himself. Let's stop.
Let's bring him back. He'll go, get the flyover.
Love Ken Davis. We miss you, Ken. I hope you have a happy holiday. That's our local news, everybody. Remember, you can follow us on social media at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can send us an email, bennyjshow@gmail.com. And you can call us. Send us a Bulls trivia question, huh? 708-658-4.
Did I flunk the Bulls trivia?
I don't know what the hell happened with that Bulls trivia thing yesterday. Jim, we need to work out okay, you give me the questions on the voicemail, and then you send me an email with the answers. How about that? I think that may be the solution to that one. So call us, like Jim, 708-658-4788. That number again, 708-658-4788. We would love to hear from you. And also, people are asking on the live stream chat, the holiday schedule. Ben, I know you've been working like a madman on this holiday schedule here, so just lay out what we plan on doing here for the holiday.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is so fun. This is like the weird obsessive side of me, which is, I try to conceal, but it exists. So I love making lists. And I love, and I don't type it. I have notebooks. I'm like a guy who has notebooks. That's just really weird. I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but I have notebooks. I use a pen or a pencil and I write things out. So one night, here, hold on. I'm turning it. Here we go. And I wrote down, I was so proud of this. Every day from December 12th, Saturday, to Monday, January 4th. And then I wrote down the guests who would be on the show. And I'd already booked the guests. Folks, I booked my own guests. I'd called each one of these people. Each phone call is like a 10-minute phone conversation. It's who I am. I'm a weird guy, I admit it. And so I was so proud. I took a picture of it and sent it to Dennis. I was so proud. I wanted to share it with somebody. And who else but Dr. D to share it with? And what was his response? Quote, I don't know. What was that chicken scratch? I couldn't make head or tails out of it.
Yeah, it's like watch a chicken scratch. And you're like, no, zoom in. And I'm like, okay, zoomed in chicken scratch. Cool.
Anyway, but after I got over the hurt of that, I did. Life went on. But yeah, we're not going to be here with a live show New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve or New Year's Day or Christmas Day. So the 24th, the 25th, the 31st, and the 1st. Dennis, I don't know. You going to Alton, D? Or you haven't made up your mind?
I think I'm going to go for my birthday. My birthday's on New Year's Eve, so.
Okay, he's a young man.
Plan.
So the doctor will be visiting his friends in Alton, his family in Alton, and I'll be right here in my house watching videos and reading books.
Yeah, you made me sound like a crazy man. Visiting friends and family? It's a pandemic, man. Just family.
Okay, just family. You're right. I said corrected. Anyway, but we have a whole group of interviews that we're done. We're doing one tonight. Dave Zirin, I don't know if you know, he's never been on the show before. He is a lefty sports writer. I know you're like, what? Say what? A lefty sports writer. But he writes for The Nation. He knows his sports inside out. He knows his politics as well. So we'll probably do an interview with him. We're going to do that today at 4 on the Year in Sports. Mick Dumke, we got an interview with Mick Dumke, The Year in Politics. Maureen O'Donnell, we're going to do an interview with her. It's been a year of death. Maureen O'Donnell, the great obituary writer for my beloved bright one, the Chicago Sun-Times. So yeah, D, we have a whole group of people lined up. Adele Marie Cobb, The Year in Politics. We did a Adele Marie interview. We're going to be dropping that. And there'll be one after another. We'll set up the order. We'll just follow this chicken scratch that I laid out. So I'm really excited about that. And then we begin the show again, January 5th. I've already booked that show, and the great Dave Glowatz will be here. And, we're going to take apart that last city council meeting. So a lot of good stuff coming up ahead, Dave.
And, Ben, I'm sorry I called all your hard work chicken scratch. So sorry. I didn't know.
Oh, and also, how can I forget this? Dr. D and I will be doing the top 10 stories of the year, right, D? And,
yeah. Thanks for reminding me. We're going to be doing that.
Do that.
The top 10 local. Oh, man, look at that hair that Miles Camp Lassin's got, buddy.
Jim Morrison has joined us. He's going to sing some of his greatest hits. I think he's going to sing Light My Fire. And so we're going to bring on Miles, who's looking more and more like a rock star every passing day. take the deep dive in all the politics, local and national. But first, we'll take a little break. We'll be back with the great Miles Kampf Lassin from In These Times.
And hey, if you're listening on the download, be sure to download part 2 with Miles Kampf Lassin.
Where my steppers at? Can you be mine? Christians on the west side, Christians on the south side, Christians on the north side, Christians on the east side, Christians on the west side, Christians on the south side, Christians on the north side, Christians on the east side, all around the world. Baby, please come to me, let me be your fantasy. Baby, like the tree, I will be all that you need. Baby, let me unwrap you underneath the mistletoe. We can sip some wine, kiss you from head to toe. Baby, don't you ever let me go. I want you to know it's alright. Wishing you'd be my boo. Can you please be my Christmas? Wrap your arms around me. Wishing please can you be with me, baby, on this Christmas? Step this way. Come on, baby, ride with me in my sleigh. Tonight we're gonna party, girl, it's time to play. And you gon' do it on Christmas Day and go all the way. Merry Christmas, baby. 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 Feliz Navidad, baby. Feliz Navidad. Wishing you'd be my boo. Can you please be my Christmas? Be my Christmas, baby. Be my Christmas, baby. Wishing please can you be with me, baby, on this Christmas? I got something very nice for you, and got your shorty baby too, baby. My stuff, right here, baby. Your stuff, my stuff, right here, baby. We want some gifts. Gotta have some gifts. We want some gifts.
That's correct.
Gotta have some gifts.
That's correct. That's correct.
No collusion. No collusion. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to party on Christmas Day. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to party on Christmas Day. Christmas, everybody! Be my boo, can you please be my Christmas? Be my Christmas, baby. I got you your Christmas wish. Santa gave me your list, baby. Come wrap your arms around
The enemy is you.
Wishing you'd be my boo. Can you please be my
Hour number 2 of your Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you in part by the Chicago Federation of Labor and the Chicago Reader.
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan.
Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from my apartment in his attic.
Miles Kampf Lassin has joined us. Miles, you're looking very good, looking very rock star these days. You're wearing you're letting your freak flag fly, and I appreciate that. I appreciate all the good work you do as well.
Thank you.
So much to discuss on the national and the local level. Miles, why don't we start with some local stuff, which also bleeds into national. And we'll start with Rahm. 3 different people, Miles, have sent me the Politico article or column, whatever it is. 3 different people sent it to me, where it basically explains that Rahm is toxic. Toxic. Wow. I never thought that would be coming. Even Dems won't appoint Rahm to a position of power. Let's talk about that a little bit, Miles.
Sure. So if I can, if you'll indulge me, just to read a statement from that aforementioned article. The top line news is that, as many listeners probably have seen by now, the decision to appoint transportation secretary has been made by Joe Biden's transition team, and they did go with a Midwest mayor, but a different one than the one who really wanted it, which as we know is Rahm. I mean, all of the reporting we've seen in recent weeks has proven a point that I know you've made in the past, which is that Rahm Emanuel's greatest talent is self-promotion, and he, did everything he could to kind of put himself in the mix. But as we saw, the small town mayor who got the gig was Pete Buttigieg of South Bend, Indiana, not Rahm. So how could that be? Rahm is a national political figure. He has been for over a decade now. Obviously, he was, the first pick, really. I think it was a day or two after the election in 2008 that Obama announced as, I think his first choice for his staff was Rahm as chief of staff. Heralded, there's books about him. He was on the cover of Time magazine. All of his friends like Jonathan Alter writing all these glowing profiles of Rahm, Chicago Bull, if you remember that thing. Well, fast forward to today, and this is the Politico playbook. A quote from a senior Democrat who is advising the transition, the Biden transition, says, quote, Rahm has former colleagues and friends who are involved and respect him, but no one is worth that sort of a headache. Labor didn't want him at transportation. Civil rights groups didn't want him. Progressives didn't want him. There is simply no constituency for Rahm Emanuel at this point. So I think that about sums it up. What's going on is that, a politician who staked his career on pursuing this centrist, third-way, neoliberal type of democratic politics, which eschewed progressive policy and instead focused on enshrining corporate power and having, wealthy friends and avoiding public or, grassroots involvement in decision-making at all levels of government. His approach to politics has now been discredited. And that's something that, I and many other progressive writers and, activists, organizers have been pushing for a long time, to see that approach to politics is discredited. And Rahm Emanuel is just one, figurehead of all of that. But I think it is an extremely positive step that he is now, as you said, considered too toxic for the cabinet. And I think, even if he does still land some type of a gig as an ambassador or some low-level person in the administration, he's clearly not going to be an influential figure. He's not going to be in cabinet meetings, any of that. So I think that it's something that folks on the left should be celebrating. And I think it's indicative of the movement in the broader Democratic Party, and something that Democrats, including the current Chicago mayor, should really pay attention to.
All right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the current Chicago mayor and the lessons that she may or may not have learned from Rahm Emanuel's time in office. And we've been talking at great length about the video of police bursting into the home of Anjanette Young and putting her in handcuffs while she's naked, and the city's response to that, fighting her in court and doing everything they can to repress the video. And then when it finally emerges, the mayor claims she never saw it before. Boy, that sounds awfully familiar, doesn't it, Miles?
It certainly does. It's almost, eerily familiar. If you remember, I mean, we never even heard Rom until the end claimed that he hadn't seen the video before of the Laquan McDonald shooting before. It kind of became public news. And it's widely assumed that that was a false statement. And, emails indicate there was knowledge, certainly within Emmanuel's office, of the Laquan McDonald scandal long before it became public. And we're finding out very quickly that the initial statements of Lori Lightfoot's administration and herself don't add up to the facts on the ground. I mean, you see that in the fact you pointed it out. She had to walk back her initial claims that she knew nothing about this until she saw it in the media, when in November of 2018 or 2019, she apparently was informed of it. So it certainly sounds like the type of behavior that does not fit in with a politician who staked their career on accountability and questions and trying to provide transparency in office and bringing reform to the city of Chicago. These are the things that Lori Lightfoot campaigned on. And now we're seeing the same exact approach to, covering up incidences of police misconduct that we saw under Rahm Emanuel. And I will say, I mean, while I pointed out that I and other writers have really pushed to make sure that there's this narrative about Rahm Emanuel out there that he is a toxic political figure. The work of making him toxic was really done by organizers on the ground in Chicago, and specifically Black youth who fought tirelessly against the Emanuel administration over his role and the administration's role in covering up that tape, in overseeing mass police abuse, and fighting for justice for Black lives. I think that was instrumental in changing the narrative around Rahm Emanuel. And as we're starting to see the beginnings of that again, just in the past few days over this scandal that Mayor Lightfoot is overseeing.
I'm with you 100% on what you just said about Rahm. We'll go before we get to Lori. Rahm Emanuel was reelected in April of 2015 over Jesus Chuy Garcia, and in large part because he won the vote in Black wards, and he won the vote in Black wards to a large part because Barack Obama strongly endorsed him. The video emerged. So, Rahm had no quote unquote problem with the civil rights community at that point. He was just reelected with Black votes. November 2015, right before Thanksgiving, a Cook County judge orders Rahm to release the video. Okay, Rahm didn't do it willingly. He ordered him to release the video. And the sense of betrayal was so palpable among Black voters across the city that this was the guy they elected. And so, Miles, I've been critical of Rahm forever because to me, he just represents some of the worst tendencies of Dems who think they're so smart and just want to just throw out all the values that the party supposedly believes in. But I don't think most people care about that except for lefties like me. But when you betray Black voters who are responsible for you being in office in the first place, when you show so much contempt for the very voters that you owe your career to, that is the political kiss of death in the Democratic Party. And it wasn't lefties like me opposing Rahm that made Joe Biden back away. I think it was when he got the message loud and clear from Black activists. You're absolutely correct that this guy had become a symbol of everything that was wrong with the Democratic Party's inconsistent treatment of its most loyal voters. You agree with me on that?
Yeah, I think the message was made loud and clear that not only was it an ideological opposition to everything that Rahm represents. I mean, just imagine a Department of Transportation under Rahm Emanuel, the same person who, locked in the parking meter deal, the same one he criticize. He clearly was involved in maintaining the parking meter deal. Just an iconic public-private partnership, quote unquote, that led to, basically stealing from the public coffers in order to enrich shareholders overseas. I mean, that has been just a symbol of how Rahm has approached governance. That in itself, I think, is a reason that he would be a very poor choice for a position like transportation secretary. But the real reason that that he was disqualified from being in the running, I think, was what you just said. It was, civil rights leaders, Black activists across the board, just repeating that, saying this is disqualifying. It would be a slap in the face to the very same voters that delivered this election to you, President-elect Biden. Voters, especially during the Democratic primary, Black voters in the South really won the race for Biden, for him to then, turn around and give a cozy job to somebody who oversaw, a massive betrayal of Black voters in his own city, Rahm Emanuel, through covering up the murder of a Black teenager, vicious murder by the Chicago police. That just, it couldn't stand. And so you're right that there was that particular scandal, I think, was the death knell for his future political career in many ways. I mean, obviously, it required that message to be repeated in recent weeks as well. But I think that's a lesson, and it goes to show that you can walk into a city like Chicago and have, too much fanfare and be considered this, celebrity in Democratic Party politics, and walk out and be basically, in the political wilderness, much like Rahm is now. You can have a perch as a pundit somewhere and work in an investment bank, but you don't have your hands on the levers of power anymore. And for anyone who wants to think of a political career long term, I mean, I don't think Rahm would have won a third term even as Chicago mayor, but certainly on the national stage, his credibility is sunk very low. So, whether it's Mayor Lightfoot or other people involved in the administration, I think long and hard about how you approach this scandal and think about how you want to come out on the other side, because hiding things up and being involved in cover-ups, it doesn't end well.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the national front. You were the one who alerted me to this behind-the-scenes showdown that took place yesterday in Congress. AOC versus Kathleen Rice for a position on a Democratic committee, a congressional committee. And it didn't go well for AOC. Talk about it a little bit. I've already talked about it on the show at the outset, but Miles, give us the update.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. It's not getting a lot of coverage, to be honest, because, deliberations over committee assignments within the House of Representatives is not usually front page news, and, understandably so. But this is a particularly telling example of how the establishment continues to punish the left wing of the party and any chance they get, and even in unexpected ways. I mean, this was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, representative of New York, was in the running for a committee assignment that she was widely expected to get, and she ended up losing late last night to Long Island Representative Kathleen Rice, as you mentioned, who is certainly far more centrist than her. She's essentially on the right flank of the party. She actually refused to support Nancy Pelosi for Speaker back in 2018. As you mentioned, this is the Energy and Commerce Committee is the committee that they were running for the seat in. And, it's a powerful committee. It deals with issues around healthcare, around climate change, a lot of the things that are very important to both Ocasio-Cortez and the larger progressive movement. And it was seen as kind of a shoo-in. Jerry Nadler, who runs the New York delegation, was backing AOC. And then kind of at the last minute, Kathleen Rice got involved. And all of these establishment Democrats essentially twisted the knife in AOC's back for revenge. I don't know, but including New York Representative Hakeem Jeffries, who's kind of second in line behind Pelosi essentially for the speakership, came out and supported Rice against AOC. It was a shocking outcome, essentially. And there was a number of other cases of that, because there were a number of these negotiations over committee assignments last night where progressives were punished, essentially. And these are the same progressives, not only that supported Nancy Pelosi against the right wing of the party that's now being, bestowed these plush committee assignments, but also who worked tirelessly to get Joe Biden elected, and getting people out to knock doors, to make calls, and the reward they get for all that work now is being punished. So I think that it goes to show that there's so many areas where the reins of power still are in the hands of establishment centrist Democrats, and they will punish even the lefties who support them, while rewarding those who have opposed them, to apparently send a message. And I think it's a little absurd, considering the fact that we see where the energy in the Democratic Party is right now. And I think that it's a lot of these establishment Democrats see that as a threat. Yeah.
The rationale that the Democrats who voted against AOC gave was that, she didn't support Democrats who were being primaried from the left. She supported the challengers, and so that in that regards, it's payback time. Then, of course, as you pointed out, it's noted that Kathleen Rice didn't even support Nancy Pelosi last time around. So there's two standards there. Do you think it's jealousy because AOC is such a prominent person? Do you think it's ideology? They despise her left of center ideology, or is it a combination of both? It's but very bizarre. You have one of the most popular politicians among the left in the country. And we talked about this at the time. What did she get at the convention? 60 seconds? Republicans were getting given prime speaking times. AOC, who's beloved by the left, got 60 seconds. And now she can't even get the committee position that she wants. So what do you think it is? Is it ideological or just plain old envy?
Yeah, they had to give those a lot of speaking time to John Kasich and Meg Whitman, big time parts of the Democratic coalition, of course, had to be represented. Republicans who now, actually Meg Whitman, big time Republican funder and founder of Quibi, which people might know as this strange, tech app that immediately collapsed. God, Lord only knows what it was supposed to do. But anyway, she's now in the running, apparently, and she's an open registered Republican. She's in the running to be Commerce Secretary, apparently under Biden. So that's a whole other problem. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to pathologize. I don't know. I'm sure there is some level of envy, of like hogging the spotlight. Also, she's just providing a very different approach to governance than what these establishment Democrats and liberals are used to, which is kind of going with the flow. I mean, you remember one of her first acts before she was even sworn in was being part of a sit-in at Nancy Pelosi's office. But she wasn't doing a sit-in in order to like benefit herself. She was doing it to urge dramatic and immediate action on climate change, an existential threat facing much of humanity right now, certainly AOC's constituents. So I wonder myself how much it is really more about their anger towards how she's approaching the office of House Representative, which is, much more kind of combative than has been the case for a long time. And one of the people who was involved in this, in determining this the committee seating, was Henry Cuellar, who's probably the most right-wing Democrat in Congress now that Lipinski has been unseated by Marie Newman. And he's down in Texas, and he was challenged from his left by Jessica Cisneros this last time around, and she came very close to beating him. He's one of the biggest beneficiaries of fossil fuel money in Congress, and a big-time ally of fossil fuel industry. So yeah, I think he was angry at AOC for supporting his challenger that go around. But you'll remember even Nancy Pelosi backed Joe Kennedy, who was doing a primary challenge to Ed Markey in Massachusetts for Senate. So it's not like these other Democrats' hands are clean when it comes to getting involved in primary campaigns. They're just the ones that are backing the centrist versus the left. So in that way, I think it is more about ideology than just norms or practice, because they're more than happy to put their hands on the scale when it comes to trying to oust who they see as more left-leaning members of Congress. They're only mad when it's the left doing the agitation.
Yeah, and this gets into the theme that I began with, which is no love for lefties, as I said. And lefties are like, I think I mentioned to you this, lefties are like the third rail. This is what I find so frustrating, because the values that people on the left espouse are generally the values of the Democratic Party, and they're the ones that the Democrats will champion at a Democratic convention, let's say, where they show images of FDR or Eleanor Roosevelt or JFK or even LBJ. They'll forget the Vietnam War and talk about his civil rights legislation. And so these are the values they champion, just like in sort of the general values. But when it comes to people who actually articulate those values, they're treated as though they're not welcome. So like Bernie Sanders, Bernie, well, he's not literally a Democrat, but he's like a persona non grata. And it's like people like you, Miles. It's like, you guys you're embarrassing us. Could you not be so vociferous in your articulation of these democratic values? Could you lower your rhetoric? It's not just you. I'm just teasing you because you're here, but it's Carlos Ramirez Rosa is another one. And just Byron Sisha Lopez, another one that was just on the show yesterday. It's like any time a left of center person really pushes hard on left of center issues that are supposedly really important to the Democrats almost get embarrassed. And it's like, look, could you just not be so loud about this? Could you just kind of go away? Do you get that feeling sometimes?
Yeah, I think that kind of sums up what the narrative coming out of the Democratic establishment has been since the election. And I think that that's going to be more and more part of our politics, or at least our media discourse, is this attempt to stifle and silence progressive critics, both of the Obama or of the Biden administration, and just of the Democratic Party in general, and say, do you realize we have to hold together this coalition, and got to negotiate with Republicans, and you're making too much noise, all of this kind of finger wagging. And we saw it throughout the campaign. I mean, if you remember, Biden was doing things like when he was criticized over his record on immigration, he said, go vote for Trump. He was hectoring people. So I'm hopeful that, by having other voices in the room, that there will be some, that won't be the reigning narrative coming out of the Biden administration itself, that there will be more of a openness to advancing some progressive policies. But I think for people who are, advocates and organizers and that do work around advancing progressive policy, you got to be adversarial with the Democratic establishment, because that's how you get things done. Trying to, fashion as a junior partner or something in this coalition, look what happens. You get, your committee assignment withheld from you because they want to punish you. So you might as well, fight I don't think that means just blow everything up, but you've got to agitate. And if you look throughout history, I mean, you just mentioned like LBJ, for example, people will credit LBJ's kind of legislative prowess as how he got through Medicare and Medicaid, for example. But there was, years of agitation around that from grassroots groups that were fighting to get health care for seniors and poor people. That's how Medicare and Medicaid got passed in 1965. Just look back at the Obama administration. Immigration activists were not, holding hands with Obama. They were fighting him tooth and nail and protesting and sitting in and going on hunger strikes. And that's how they eventually won things like DACA and, reduced deportations. Same thing on, gay rights. When Obama came into office, he had Pastor Rick Warren, a homophobe, give the invocation at his inauguration. And, he went from that to repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and refusing to defend DOMA, Defense of Marriage Act in court. Those things were won through agitation from the outside, not from, trying to be friends with the establishment. So I think it's a lesson of what's to come in the Biden era. I think we're going to see a lot more of it. And I think I think the left has learned a lot since 2008 and is going to be prepared.
Yes, that fight we'll be talking about in the coming year, the left trying to push Joe Biden to do the right thing. Do you see any signs from his cabinet selections that encourage you? Early on, you mentioned Buttigieg. You're encouraged that it didn't pick Rahm. So I guess that's an encouragement. But any actual selections that encourage you?
Yeah, I mean, I think yesterday was a big day because the Biden team selected Deb Haaland, who was a representative from New Mexico. She's the first Native American woman ever to be in the United States Congress. She won in 2018. She ran on Medicare for All, a Green New Deal, marijuana legalization. She's a progressive, right? And she had been under discussion to run the Interior Department. There was all kind of hemming and hawing because Pelosi didn't want to, hurt her majority in the House. And so she was trying to convince, I don't know, there was a lot of consternation over whether to pick another representative from Congress. But yesterday she was nominated by Biden to be the Interior Secretary, which is huge. That they control 1/5 of the land of the United States that, is overseen by the Interior Department. And they can make massive changes, especially when it comes to issues of tribal sovereignty, but also on things like climate change. So I am very encouraged by that. Becerra, who got chosen for Health and Human Services, also is a longtime Medicare for All supporter himself. He, doesn't have tons of history in doing healthcare administration, but I think that there's a lot he could do with that office, and certainly to stop the office from being involved in fighting against single payer activity on the state level. That's one thing that was really has been a problem in the past, is when states try to do their own single payer plans, the federal government gets involved and tries to stop it. So this is one area where we could see real movement soon on the state level with having Becerra in office. And then I'd say Marcia Fudge, she is a progressive. She was hoping to get appointed as Agriculture Secretary, and Biden handed that to Tom Vilsack, somebody who's long time been in bed with the agricultural industry, which is troubling. But as kind of a consolation, they put her in charge of the housing and urban development part of the administration. So she is going to be the HUD secretary, assuming she gets approved. And she's also been largely progressive. So there are some areas where there has been some positive picks, but that said, there's also plenty of folks from the war-making industry, from Wall Street, from the same revolving door of corporate America as we would expect.
Yeah. And so much of what Joe Biden's agenda will be, whether it gets through, will be shaped by what happens in Georgia. You have any sense those two Senate races? I guess the next time you come on the show, they will have been decided. January 5th is the election. You have any gut feeling about which way those elections are going to go?
Well, the gut feeling is not great, considering it's Georgia, and if you look at their history of runoff elections and just their history of electing senators, it has not been very good for Democrats. So that is a major challenge. I think specifically trying to unseat David Perdue, who has been in the office for a while, is going to be a real challenge. And John Ossoff has already, lost a high-profile race there. But I'm encouraged because, you brought up earlier, Nancy, them trying to say that Ossoff was like Nancy Pelosi or something because he was so far left.
Hmm.
Well, look at what's happening now. What the candidates in Georgia are talking about, Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, they're sounding like lefties themselves. They're saying send people checks. They're saying, we need coronavirus relief. We need aid for state and local governments. We need, to get all this stuff done. While meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi is kind of selling out some of those ideas in her negotiations around this compromised COVID bill. So it's actually Ossoff and Warnock that are, running to the left, but they're running to the left in a way that says we need to, pay everybody $15 an hour. We need to, get health care to everybody. It's much more, they're running a much more progressive campaign than I would have expected, but it makes sense because I think it's going to be a base election. It's all going to come down to turnout. We've seen very high turnout so far. We don't know, which way that's going, if those are angry MAGA people who are trying to stop the steal through voting for, the Republicans, and maybe writing in Trump for all we know, as they've been told to do. Or if it's Democrats. I mean, it could be an overwhelming show of Democratic force. I will say, I'm editing an article right now actually about some of the grassroots groups in Georgia that are doing outreach there, and they're very encouraged by the type of response that they're seeing. And these are groups that are, been on the ground in Georgia for a long time. So that is heartening, but there, we don't know. I mean, it's such a consequential election, of which you remember how much polling there was, around the general election.
Yeah.
We don't have a dearth of it now compared to that for something that holds so much consequence. I mean, Biden's entire agenda kind of rides on Ossoff and Warnock winning. So definitely going to be watching that one very closely. And I will say, I mean, I admitted it about Michigan as well. I've been making calls to Georgia. Anybody can do that. I think that that's a great way to, get involved if you're feeling, stuck and inactive this holiday season. There are plenty of opportunities to plug in and try to motivate voters in the great state of Georgia.
So what's the response when you talk to Georgians?
I mean, I mainly right now, I think that there's a couple focuses. One is deep canvassing, which is what groups like People's Action, which has an affiliate there, called Song Power in Georgia. They're working with kind of a people of color LGBT group, and they're doing kind of deep canvassing, which is talking to people about their issues and trying to get them on board with people that might not always vote. Then there's just get out the vote, operations, which is kind of what it's transitioning into now because it's getting so close to the election. And that has been positive, and that people are, that they're Democrats and they haven't voted yet, and you're telling them to, they need to go vote again. Sometimes it's just kind of a reminder. I have not been doing persuasion calls myself, so I haven't heard as much, from the other side. But I can tell you that there's certainly plenty of Republican support in Georgia for Loeffler and Perdue, and they're going full Red Scare. All of the talking points they have is that this is the radical socialist agenda that they want to, ruin your freedom with by instituting this takeover or what have you. And they're just going pure scare tactics because they can't run on anything. And Perdue and Loeffler, as we know, are getting hammered over both doing basically insider trading and benefiting from their knowledge of the COVID crisis before it hit by selling their stocks and making an insane amount of money. So they're both very, very flawed candidates. So their whole approach has been to try to tarnish the reputation of Ossoff and Warnock. But I will say one last thing here on this is that what is kind of encouraging is how much pressure is now on Mitch McConnell to COVID deal, because he said, and he's very clear about it. I mean, one thing you could say for Mitch McConnell, he's pretty politically honest about his intentions. He said the reason he's doing this is because Loeffler and Perdue are getting killed in Georgia right now because there's no more COVID relief. If you punish and starve your citizens, people are gonna be angry, and Loeffler and Perdue are right now the incumbents. They are the ones that represent what's happening in Washington. So, I think the fact McConnell is feeling the pressure goes to show they're pretty worried about it.
Yeah, no, the Republicans are very inconsistent collection of politicians whose unifying theme is essentially the same old red baiting that's been going on since like the 1920s in this country. And so I talked about this a lot yesterday, Miles. I'm watching that the negotiations, if you can call them that, between the Republicans and the Democrat over stimulus relief. And the sticking point is whether there'll be relief for states and cities. And the Republicans are adamant they don't want relief for states and cities. And I'm just baffled by this, because there are Republican governors of states that could use that assistance. There are Republican downtown property interests, who support Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who could use that relief. There are Republican, they are stakeholders in all this. They won't challenge, they won't use their clout to force the Mitch McConnells of the world to bend on that issue. And I just find it such a baffling, it's almost like a form of anarchy or nihilism on the part of the Republicans. They're willing to let their states and cities go down the tubes rather than give on this issue. I don't know what principle they're invoking on this one, other than just blind hatred for blue states or cities. But it is baffling, and you're right that somehow or other Mitch McConnell has decided that they have to send out individual checks to human beings, okay, in order to win in Georgia, but they are not going to send out money to what? I don't know, the city of Atlanta or Cobb County or, any governmental entity in a state like Georgia that needs money to pay its basic obligations because the revenue is not coming in because we're in the middle of this economic shutdown. So very strange position the Republican Party has locked itself into.
What did Alfred say in Batman Begins of the Joker? Some men just want to watch the world burn, I think. And so, I think that you saw this before with Medicaid expansion under Obama, right? Like that's something that would have helped all these Republican governors. It would have taken so much stress off of their healthcare systems, and it would have improved the lives of their constituents. And yet, many Republican governors decided to reject that funding, just say no to money from the government to fund Medicaid expansion in their states because they were opposed to this idea of the government actually helping its citizens, And I think that is the same internal logic that is motivating this current refusal to provide state and local aid. The rub of it is that, who's going to suffer from it? It's police and fire departments. They're the ones that are getting this money from local budgets. Education systems, public transit, all of these are going to suffer. And from what I understand, the current status of negotiations, they've already taken that out of the bill. They are not even, the Republicans took it out. So they're not even negotiating over state and local aid at this point. The thing that is the real sticking point at this point, and this might change, within the day, but it was an effort being led by Toomey in the Senate, a Republican, to try to sabotage any ability of the Biden administration to use funding from the Federal Reserve to prop up the economy. So that is their biggest. They want to just, make sure the Biden administration is stillborn, that it can accomplish nothing, which is the same thing they did when Obama came into office. So that's their real sticking point. They've already said they're not going to fund state or local governments. So it doesn't look good in terms of what's going to come out of this package. They also want to restrict the unemployment benefits. And when it comes to the checks, I think, McConnell was opposed to the checks. So maybe he turned his, feelings because of what's going on in Georgia. It could also be because Trump tried to blow up the negotiations last night by saying he wants to send $2,000 to everybody, which would be great. But then again, does all kinds of shit, so who knows? There's that. But the real reason that there's money, there's checks in the package, which is a great thing. I'm very excited to get some money from the government, but you need it way less than so many people that are, really suffering right now. Not that I'm paid super well, but and even $600 can go a long way. And the reason that's in the bill right now is because of Bernie Sanders and because he just nonstop, has been pushing this. And of course, his colleagues in the House like Pramila Jayapal and AOC and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib were, fighting endlessly to include some type of direct cash payments for struggling Americans in there. So I think it's very good that they've included that, but there's all these other poison pills that are in that bill right now.
Yeah. All right, Miles, Kampf, Lassin, thank you for any articles from in these times that you want people to know about before we let you go?
If you go to In These Times right now, you'll see a really good article by Max Sawicki that I edited and published. He's a former economist at the Economic Policy Institute and writer, and it's all about the real need for Joe Biden to go crazy on stimulus spending as soon as he gets in there, because it's, the kind of jumpstart our economy needs. So definitely check that out. And I am going to be doing my NBA fantasy draft tonight. So if anybody wants to, send me some good vibes for getting some good picks, the NBA season is starting up in just like a few days at this point. So, vaccine is here, the NBA is here. There's good days ahead.
All right. So we'll leave with that. My beloved Bulls start Tuesday, December 22nd. I'm very excited. And I'm predicting, of course, as I do every year, that the Bulls will be the NBA champs. And I'm offering you and Dennis, I'm going to be reserving you spots in Grant Park because the vaccine will be there when we have the championship parade and celebration. It'll be held in Grant Park, and I'm saving spots for you and Dennis. So do you share my enthusiasm for my beloved Chicago Bulls? Or do you think they're just going to be another disastrous year?
Oh, I think this is going to be great. I mean, I think I mentioned it before, but I have even more faith in Billy Donovan's Bulls than I do in Joe Biden's. To say, I think that Billy is a great steward, and even though he's not working with the best, he doesn't have the best hand dealt to him. I think he's going to make the most of it. That's something I do wish for President-elect Biden as well. But I just think that Billy Donovan has shown from his time in Oklahoma City, he can really make a team at least show some effort. I think it's going to be a year of figuring out what works and what doesn't without Jim Boylan around. And preseason has already shown some real positive signs. Patrick Williams, the rookie, has giant Kawhi Leonard-like hands and has been playing pretty great. And I think Zach LaVine and Kobe White are going to have big years. So
yeah, I'm very excited by Patrick Williams, and so is Dennis. Dennis got a Patrick Williams tattoo that people don't know about.
P-Dub.
So anyway, Miles, enjoy the Bulls season and have a great holiday season, and we'll be talking to you next year. All right.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you both.
All right, that's the great Miles Kampf Lassin from In These Times, and Whitney Young, and he's predicting good things for my beloved Chicago Bulls. How about that, D? I'm very excited.
All right, well, we'll see how long that optimism lasts.
Oh God, just rain on my parade again. What you got from young man? And again, you must have some update.
Wait, where'd Miles go to high school?
Whitney Young.
Really?
The Dolphins, yes.
Huh. Go Dolphins.
Go Dolphins.
All right, before we step away for the weekend, let's do the back half. So the governor is holding his daily COVID-19 update right now. It began at 2:30. I actually have it pulled up. Let's go live to the Thompson Center for the governor's daily COVID-19 update. Let's hear what's going on.
You have seen over the last 48 hours, governors all across the nation have come to terms with the idea, because they've been informed, as I was, that their vaccine distribution would be diminished by virtue of the deliveries from the federal government being diminished. So we still do not know exactly why. I know there's a conversation going on, it seems, as I can see in the press, between Pfizer and the federal government, and maybe a disagreement about it. But what I know is what I have stood up here and told you, and I try to be as communicative as I can about what I learned from the federal government.
Well, we appreciate that, JB. We'll check back in on that a little later. Anything you'd like to say about what you heard there, Ben?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a long time, D, before the vaccine finds its way to you and me. Let's just put it that way, you know?
I'm not mad about that.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad about it. And
Not mad about it.
Fully recognize that Dennis and myself are like, we should be at the bottom. We are like, our services do not demand that we go out among the general public. That is for sure. But no, I'm just curious who is going to be on the list. You know, now there's talking of people who have to get it fast. So, for instance, there's talk now that school teachers should get it, which is, again, another mixed message, you know, because supposedly going back to school is the safest thing in the world. That's what they're telling us. So now they're going to put teachers at the front lines. So I don't know how they're going to figure this one out. And it's Donald Trump. He's, by the way, he is all over the map on the vaccine. On one hand, he wants to get full credit, full total credit when everybody's had the vaccine and people are freely moving and stay-at-home orders have been lifted and folks are going back to work, restaurants are reopened. He wants all the credit for it. And yet, so much of his base is opposed to taking the vaccine. They still don't believe that the pandemic is real. So he doesn't quite know which way to go on this one, D. You know what I'm saying? He wants the credit. It's a habit. Oh, my God. In the Republican Party, they don't know where to go. You know, they don't know whether to promote the vaccine. DB Darren Bailey here in the state of Illinois won't be promoting it, but presumably Jim Durkin in DuPage County would be promoting it. If you think the Democrats have problems with the split between AOC and the centrists, just go to the Republicans. But at the moment, Donald Trump is the Republican Party. He controls the Republican Party. God, D. That story that popped on my feed before we came on about the tens of millions of dollars that Trump has raised, and there's very little oversight for it. Like, I mean, I got to bring in an expert. Where's Adolfo El Dragon when I need him? Can Donald Trump, use that money for his legal fees? I don't even know if that's Donald Trump's attitude is, who cares? Who cares if the law says I can't do it? What Donald Trump generally does is he does what he wants, and if someone doesn't like it, then he sees them in court. So, El Dragon will be filing a suit against Trump 10 years from now. Trump. So, yeah, he's unbelievable. And that's the Republican Party. That's where they're at now. We have to, that illogical collection of lunatics has as much power as the Democrats in Congress when it comes to, just as Miles was saying, negotiating a stimulus bill. And the Democrats have to figure out some kind of governing logic in all that. So, okay, you say you don't want any money going to the assistance of cities and states that are on the edge of bankruptcy. Okay, we have to agree to that. Or you won't allow any money to go to individuals who, can't pay their rent, can't buy groceries. What a strange position we are as a country right now. We're just so divided on these basic issues. So, D, it's just like I listen to JB, and I do have enormous sympathy for the guy. It's like he's every day trying to be rational and upbeat, and I'm trying to be honest with you guys. Meanwhile, half the state's got a Pritzker sucks sign in their lawn because they don't believe the pandemic's real. Tough going for JB Pritzker.
Yeah, life's weird.
And I tested very positively in another sense. So this morning, I tested positively toward negative, right? So, no, I tested perfectly this morning. Meaning I tested negative.
Huh?
Look, I share that with him. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You really, as a guy with dyslexia, I get you, Donnie. It's like the good thing is the negative thing, but you would think the good thing is the positive thing. But in this case, it's the negative that's good. I'm all mixed up. Good.
Pritzker did announce that he will be once again not delivering his updates daily. Yeah. He said that they will only hold a press briefing when deemed necessary. Pritzker then gave us a bunch of stats. For instance, today marked J.B. Pritzker's 42nd consecutive day of press briefings since the fall.
He said that?
Yeah.
He actually.
And today was his 155th press conference since this damn dirty coronavirus began.
All right, J.B. Pritzker. I said it again. Said it once. I'll say it again. He's doing the best job he can. Hasn't been dealt a great hand.
And,
what's that?
Oh, I was going to say, you did have some good news as well. Over 17,000 Illinoisans have received the COVID vaccine. And way to go, Illinois. Illinois has launched the largest housing assistance program in the country. So far, we have $190 million going to rental assistance. By the end of the month, it should be $325 million and $84 million in emergency mortgage funds.
Well, that's good news. But in general, I can't think of another crisis that we faced in which there's been so much division. I mean, JB, you can't find a Republican who'll get up there with JB Pritzker at one of these press conferences. Supposedly this is a very serious pandemic. Supposedly this is a health crisis. Supposedly this is an economic crisis. You can't find a Republican that'll stand up there with JB Pritzker. And it's like everything. It's like climate change, racism, all these great problems that the United States faces. The Republicans deny that they exist. The pandemic, add that to the list. So how are the Democrats supposed to craft a bipartisan solution to a problem that the Republicans don't even recognize as a problem? That's a challenge. That's a real challenge. So, it's again, one more time, I have more sympathy for JB than, say, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, because she does not have to deal with that nihilistic opposition to everything she stands for. So I feel for you, JB. I mean, he's not been perfect. He's stumbled.
He's not a perfect person, you're saying?
Yeah, he's not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect person. Yeah, yes. No doubt about it.
Well,
but he's trying.
All right, let's go for more. Let's check back in on today's press briefing from J.B. Pritzker. All right, wait a minute. Oh, okay, I think it's over. It ended. It's done. Okay. Well, that's okay. Because finally, right before a week of Ben Joravsky shows come to a close, we have a little teaser for Tuesday's episode of everyone's favorite fictional Chicago political soap opera, A Mayor and Her Alderman.
A mayor and her alderman.
If you want to talk about a separate issue, there will be a time and a place for that, but you are out of order, sir.
The following comes from the Chicago... What?
No, I just think about that. You are out of order, sir. We are not going to talk about that right now. And then the next day, she has a press conference, and she's all choked up with the police chief, and he's all choked up. But the day before, she's mad at Byron Sixto Lopez for even raising the issue. Somehow, somewhere between that point where she was mad at Byron Sixto Lopez and where she had the press conference where she was so upset about the issue, somebody explained to Lori Lightfoot, Mayor, this could be a public relations disaster for you. Forget the issue of whether police should be breaking into people's homes and subjecting them to cruel and unusual punishment, like having them handcuffed while they're naked. Forget all that. It's the public relations backlash that you have to worry about. And so somewhere between, sorry, D, that triggered it, her lashing out at Byron Sixto Lopez for inappropriately raising this subject at a wrong time, and that press conference on Thursday, she had this massive transformation and all of a sudden felt tremendous empathy for what had happened for Anjanette Young and what had happened to her. So really a remarkable turnaround, D, in not even 24 hours. amazing. She must have taken some kind of empathy pill.
Right?
That's what she did. She took an empathy pill.
It's like science or something.
Thank God. Science is back, baby.
Thank God it's back, right?
Oh, Lord.
The following comes from the Chicago Tribune, John Byrne and Gregory Pratt. With the furor over a wrongful Chicago police raid of a social worker's home and Mayor Lori Lightfoot's handling of the fallout showing no signs of abating, a group of aldermen today, Friday, called for a special city council meeting days before Christmas to try to order the city to settle the ease and stop any legal action against the woman. The move came as Lightfoot announced she had ordered the law department to drop its request for sanctions against Anjanette Young's attorney. And it says here, it's time for a little alderman quiz here before we get the weekend. All right. Well, you know this one. Alderman Ray Lopez, Ben, what ward?
Come on, 1-5.
Stephanie Coleman.
1-6.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time here on the Ben Joravsky Show, Ben Joravsky was wrong about the alderman. Stephanie Coleman is the 17th.
No, she's the 16th. David Moore is the 17th.
Well, it says 17th here in the Chicago Tribune.
Well, they're wrong and I'm right. David Moore is the alderman of the 17th ward. Stephanie Coleman is the alderman of the 16th ward. Stephanie Coleman's mother used to be the alderman of the 16th ward. She defeated Tony Folks in the election in 2019. Now you go, wait, Ben, wasn't Tony Folks the alderman of the 50th ward? Yes, she was, Dee. Very good for knowing that. But they redistricted the ward and she went into the 16th ward. So the Chicago Tribune is wrong and I'm right.
All right, I'm looking it up here just to make sure. All right. Ben Joravsky's right. The Chicago Tribune is wrong.
Come on, man.
My apologies. Wow, you're a dork. Okay.
Somehow or other, that got flip-flopped.
And obviously, Jeanette Taylor, Ben, what ward?
Come on, JT. 20th, 2-0.
Those aldermen and women filed Friday for a Tuesday afternoon meeting of the full council to consider an order to, quote, to the Corporation Council of the City of Chicago to hereby terminate any and all efforts against Miss Anjanette Young and her legal team, as well as immediately negotiate, draft, and do all things necessary to settle any legal action related to Miss Young.
Yeah, well, that's what got us in trouble in the first place. And see, we had this conversation yesterday with Byron Fisher Lopez and Lori Lightfoot. One more time, her entire legal career, she's been a corporate lawyer. Corporate lawyers are looking out for the interest of their corporate clients. And anybody who sues their client, they're fighting them. They're going to cut them off at the knees. I will take your car. I will make you walk. Okay? And so that's the attitude that her law department had when Anjanette Young came to them with the lawsuit regarding the police pounding down her door, putting her in her handcuffs, even though she was naked. That was the attitude they had. And that was the attitude that she expressed in this press statement, where she said, quote, since this matter is the subject of litigation, I will have no further comment. So now there's pressure. Lori Lightfoot already had the press conference, even though she said she wasn't going to have any further comment, where she said how sorry she felt for Anjanette Young at that same press conference. David Brown, the police chief, said how sorry he felt for Anjanette Young. They want to reach out to Anjanette Young. Now it's like, I mean, we got to pay Anjanette Young? You see, at least with Laquan McDonald, people forget this. Mayor Rahm's Corporation Council said, look, boss, let's give the family $5 million. Let's bury that tape. Let's just bury this whole thing. Lori Lightfoot's law department, we're fighting you. We're going to take your car. We're going to make you walk. So now we are. Now Jeanette Taylor and Stephanie Coleman and who's the third alderman in this group? Was it Raylo? Raylo. Wow, what a coalition that is. They're now saying, hey, make it right. And by the way, these public dollars. And that's why when Byron Sixto Lopez raised the subject at the city council meeting, it was appropriate venue because he was being asked to vote on a settlement of another police abuse case. And so when Lori Lightfoot chastised him for raising the subject of police abuse in general, she was wrong and he was right. Because at some point when the city council is being asked to vote to approve a settlement, it's incumbent upon the city council, the alderman, to say to the mayor, what have we done to change the culture that leads to all these abuses? And her response to Byron was to say, shut up, sit down, you're out of order. How are you ever going to change anything when your response to criticism is shut up, sit down, you're out of order? That's sort of like their attitude toward the teachers. Shut up, go back in that classroom. You're safe. We told you you're safe. Get in that classroom right now. So, yeah, that's interesting. We'll see where they go with that one. Because that's what got us in trouble in the first place in this thing. The city was determined not to lose this lawsuit.
All right, our live stream chat of the day, by the way, goes to Michael Girardi. Our live stream chat comment of the day goes to Michael Girardi. Michael Girardi says, Lori saw the video last year, but she didn't like it, and she didn't inhale. Pretty funny.
That is funny, man. Lori Clinton. It's only appropriate. Lori, you remember when Lori Lightfoot asked that really probing question of Hillary Clinton? Do you remember that? So, now she's inhaling like Bill Clinton didn't inhale.
The probing question to Hillary Clinton. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. So what is going to happen next? Well, I guess we're going to have to wait until Tuesday for another episode of A Mayor and Her Alderman.
A mayor and her alderman.
I want an answer. It's not something you ignore.
I think you're 100% full of shit, is what I think. If you think
no offense, well, fuck you then. Who are you to tell me?
By the way, that's not how no offense works. You can't say no offense followed by the most offensive thing you could say to someone.
Raylo, I love you, but Dennis has got a good point there. Just saying, Raylo, you're always welcome on this show. Many of my lefty friends don't like it when you come on the show, but you're always welcome on my show. But Dennis does have a good point there.
How did you go from sharing stories over the years to deciding to write a book?
Good question, Mayor. Good question.
Still not a good question.
If only Lori Lightfoot was as, caring for Anjanette Young as she is for Hillary Clinton. Maybe we wouldn't be in this situation.
Oh, and one quick thing here as well. Kathy on the live stream chat. How's it going, Kathy? She had one quick question for you. And it's a question that we've always been asking you here because we never know because, boy, you are always just flipping and a-flopping. So we may as well ask before we head out for the weekend. When it comes to Mike Madigan, you on the bus or off, buddy?
Who asked the question? Kathy, did you say?
Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy, I am currently on the bus. I always get confused, like, on the bus, does that mean I'm for or against them? Dennis has to explain it to me. Now you know what those poor teachers at Evanston High School had to put up with. This one here. Social promotion for this one. But yes, I am on the bus. I think the Democratic Party is committing a bizarre form of suicide by clinging to Michael Joseph Madigan. And if you don't believe me, listen to Sarah Bingaman from the Boonies. And she talks about trying to get quote unquote independents and Republicans to consider voting for Democrats and their response to Michael Joseph Madigan. So yes, I'm on the bus. I even even put that in a column, D, last week. So it's in writing. Not that it matters.
Oh, yeah. Not that it matters. Let's really highlight that part you said there.
But anyway, I am currently on the bus.
All right, remember, everybody, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows, guest interviews, Benny J bonus interviews, like this weekend's Benny J bonus interviews at the Chicago Reader website and wherever else you download your favorite podcasts. Find us on social media at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Send us an email, bennyjshow@gmail.com, and you can call us 708-658-4788. That number again, 708-658-4788. We would love to hear from you. And if you listen on the download, hey, check us out live sometime, 1 until 3 p.m. Central Time, Tuesday through Friday at the Chicago Reader YouTube channel. And Ben, one more time, run down that holiday schedule we got planned.
Oh my God, there's a lot of people on this schedule.
No show. Well, basically the plan: no show Christmas Eve, no show Christmas Day.
Okay, I was like, I'm gonna read all these names.
No show New Year.
You want them? When I sent you the picture, it's chicken scratch. I was so proud. I go, Dee, look! I'm so happy. Now you know what my high school career was like. I turn it in, teacher, look. Looking for an approval. I can't read this.
So no show Christmas Eve, no show Christmas Day, no show New Year's Eve, no show New Year's Day. But as always, we will have something available for you to download,
Every
all right?
day.
Including like an interview with Del Marie Cobb, DMC, and
Mickey Dumpke.
Mick Dumpke, so much. Oh, we have a lot of stuff planned here, so don't worry. You'll have content when we are away. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dee. I want to thank Miles Kampf Lassin from In These Times. Of course, the man, the myth, the legend, pride of Joe of Alton, Illinois, without whom the show would be possible. And it's Miles Kampf Lassin, Lori Lightfoot, and Mitch McConnell will tell you back home in Alton, they call him Dr. D. Give yourself a raise. Take it out of petty cash. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. Science is back, baby.
No collusion.
Face coverage.
No collusion.
Face coverage.
Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. Science is back, baby.
No collusion.
Face coverage.
How did you go from sharing stories over the years to deciding to write a book?
Good question, Mayor. Good question.
No collusion.
Face coverage.
How did you go from sharing stories over the years to deciding to write a book?
Good question, Mayor. Good question.